So?
So tell them what happened yesterday.
Well, you're not gonna introduce it more than that. Just tell them what happened.
Tell them what you did.
Is this like a confessional? Okay, so, I can be both very socially competent and very socially incompetent. And there are times where dealing with people is like really easy. And there are times when there aren't.
And yesterday would be a not easy time for you.
Yeah. Yesterday was a not easy time for me. Where we are, and just the fact that like maybe this is just a thing that happens now, particularly in the Pacific Northwest. But we get frequently visited by only people that want to repair our roof or put solar panels on top. And this is like the third time a solar panel door-to-door salesperson has basically come by. But they don't frame it that way. And it's been a long, they're not selling magazines anymore. They don't do that. They just hack into your internet accounts and stuff. And then, I don't know what goes on anymore. But
it's that solar is an incredibly lucrative up and coming market that a lot of people don't know anything about. So it's easy to trap people in solar. It's like old encyclopedia salesmen, right?
I know, right? Well, because everybody wanted an encyclopedia back in the day.
Right. Right. Very expensive. You're not sure if you're actually going to use it or if your household would even benefit from it, but a salesperson will definitely try and sell it to you.
Well, and then and to that point, like solar is something that a lot of people can benefit from, and very legitimately. Our house, I think, is in a good position for solar because of I think it's north-south facing roofs are good for that, and we get a lot of sun face on that top side of the roof. So that gets us to this guy comes around, and this is a kind of a red flag for me looking back at it, but they're always offering free quotes, right? And I'm always like, I don't trust anybody. I hate salespeople, but it's a hot day. This guy's going around, because he starts, solar, like we get a free shade estimate on your house, right? And I'm like, okay, I'd like to know. Like, I think my house has a good sun exposure, and it does. I think and I've thought about solar, so I have. But from a salesperson, not usually. Mm-hmm. And then he does this thing where he's like, okay, so we can set you up later with a rep that can talk to you about like your bills and how much if your house is the right amount of solar, it could be no upfront in order to get it installed and stuff. Yeah, okay, I get it. Red flags abound. But maybe it's because I've been worn down. Maybe it's because I heard...
I wasn't home. That's another problem with this. I'm not sure that you would have invited a human being back to our home later in the day, like a salesperson, had I been home. Like, I wouldn't have even been out front with you talking to this person, but had my physical presence been in the house, I don't think that you would have set an appointment with a salesperson to come back later in the day to bother us on a day that was, like, not a day that I was interested in being bothered.
Yeah. And not only was it a Friday evening, but you were predisposed or whatever, and...
I was at the hospital earlier that day, right? Like nothing routine, but like I get this, medication. I'm at the hospital for like 4.5 hours. It takes me like 6 hours total because the drive down there, the 4-hour time, and the drive back, and like I'm exhausted afterwards. Like I don't drive myself to this procedure specifically because of how tired it makes me and like how much I am just not interested in like I come home and I generally just watch TV or I want to go to sleep. I don't want to talk to salespeople. Okay?
I do think if you were at home, I probably would have been a little bit harsher about like getaway because I'm like I'm a little bit more protective. I think of like your space and time than I have of my own. And for me, I'm like, I'll hear you out. But, the answer's virtually always, I told this guy ahead of time I didn't have any money, too. I'm like, our dog bills, I'm like 30 grand in the hole. And he's like, I'm sorry about your dog. And I'm like, it's fine. Like, it's been a crazy year. And I'm like, yeah, I get you people all the time. And I tell them the same thing. This place is a pit. Like, I don't have any money.
We don't have a kitchen right now.
Yeah, we don't. We do.
Well, we have appliances, okay? Like, the appliances are set up. And then we have boxes as our cabinets. So if that gives you an indication in terms of finances of what we would prioritize, solar is not on the list.
And to be fair, some of those boxes house appliances that we have.
That are not installed because there are no cabinets.
Well, let's not disparage me here.
Not disparaging you. I'm just saying the situation is such
intense
that solar is like not high on the list of priorities. It's definitely not what we would put money into.
Yeah. So
if we had money, which we don't.
So I agreed at a 6 o'clock meeting because I figure Ash will be back by then. And that's the point I'm chatty too because I'm like, You know, like I'm actually pretty. I think I was pretty cold almost the entire time, and then like I haven't talked to anybody in like months really. So well, that's not true, but I very rarely talk to people that aren't my family members, and so I was a little chatty earlier on. The moment he leaves, I'm like, oh, I totally regret this.
So what do? You text me. A salesperson may or may not be coming. You know, sometime between like 5:30 and 6:30, and I was like, how do you know what time they're gonna show up? Like, how do you know what time a solicitor is coming to our home? You're like, well, and then it became clear. Like, you did not tell me, but it became clear that you set this appointment.
Yeah, well, like I said, strong buyer's remorse, a lot of regret, and so what do? I tell her that we're gonna hide and we're not gonna answer the door. That's not all I did. We've had a no soliciting sign for a long time. I put it up between the first guy and the second guy.
So the first guy comes and you say, yeah, sure, I'll talk to the second guy. And then after that guy comes, you put up, knowing full well that the second person is coming, you put up the no soliciting sign in the yard as if that's going to save you now.
But I feel like there's an implication there.
Because of the implication.
No, there's not. Because you've set an appointment.
I know.
Like, it's an appointment.
It's no longer soliciting. I get that.
Right.
So, well, the other thing that happened too was, one of the things that frustrates me about this and how I think it works is that, like, you know, it's all very quick. It's in the moment. It's that same day. And they don't give you a lot of information. They barely even explain who they are. So we look them up. I looked them up on Better Business Bureau. You looked them up on Reddit. Yeah. And, like, so if they have, like, AAA, like, everything's perfect, you know, like, amazing business, such good deals, et cetera, et cetera.
Still a waste of time because we still can't afford it. But I hear you. I hear you.
No, but if they were, and then there was like some sort of like, because you know, like there, at least a couple of years ago, I felt like there were programs that were like getting people like free solar or whatever. And I don't know who has that and who doesn't, or if that's even happening anymore, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if these people are attached to that. So we looked them up, and so this is why I don't feel bad about completely avoiding this guy instead of just saying not interested. Which. I mean, we can get into it. I think there's more mental health issues there than there are like, but
there's also more to the story than just like you ignoring him. But sure, okay. Sorry.
So I looked them up on BBB, and there's some like weird reports on there. All the negative reports are mostly that like sometimes they set things up and it doesn't work right, and it's kind of a scam. Which that said, like BBB still had a high rating for them, but like user reviews were like eh. And then you look them up on Reddit. It's a lot of that.
Yes.
So, and the other thing I saw on the user reviews was them saying that some of the salespeople were like threatening or like bully people, or like this first guy I talked to was delightful, but like then I'm like, oh, what is the second guy's a psycho?
Right.
You know what I mean?
He's like the one getting you the in, and then the hard sell is going to come later.
Like first line, front line, second line thing. The front line is just the dipshits.
Yeah.
And they're just the nice people. They're just the yes, how can I help you, ma'am?
They're normally new, like they're younger.
Yeah.
Like they're new to the business, like, or they just like really need a job.
That second line is where they're going to be bullish and difficult, because you've already like you said, I let their foot in the door.
Yes.
And and that's the person that's going to be really fucking annoying and hard to get rid of.
Yeah.
So instead of just answering the door when it came by, well, I guess maybe we even go there. You were getting back after horrible traffic, driving for like an hour, in what should be like a half an hour drive. Yeah. More than an hour.
It was
you were
over
driving
an hour.
home. And you were getting home exactly at 6 o'clock when he knocked on the door, and so instead of just
he was literally, so my mother's driving me home from this appointment. We round like the corner to come towards our house, and this man is at our door. Like it was to the minute. Like there he is, and like I just wasn't having it. Like in my mind the entire time driving there, I knew that it was a possibility that would happen, and I thought to myself, if that happens, I'm just going to tell him no. Like, I was all, like, building myself up.
I know.
Like,
I was building myself up, too, before it happens.
I was like, I'm just going to tell him. I'm going to be like, no, my husband's an idiot. He doesn't know.
Yeah,
you know,
I am.
I was just going to, like, I was going to do it. And then we got here, and I was like, I am tired. Like, I'm exhausted at this point. Like, the last thing I want to do is deal with this salesperson. I just don't want to do it. So...
I'm hot. Maybe it's the coffee.
I don't think it is. I think it's the situation you created for us. So anyway, so my mom and I decide to evade the salesperson by like driving around and like hopes that he will leave. Okay.
Yep.
And then you
And then I hide in here. Well, my plan was I texted her. I was like, I told her ahead of time. I'm like, get here before 6. We're gonna hide in the movie room. We're gonna turn out. I closed the shades. I turned off the lights. I put the dogs in the other room.
Yeah.
And I sat here silently, like no one was home.
I believe you described it as incognito mode, which accurate.
It was. I mean, the house looked vacant except for the fact the car slept.
I mean, you literally could have just opened the door and been like, "I'm sorry, I made a mistake. Go away."
I know.
You know what I mean?
I could have. Instead, he stood here for 20 minutes.
20 minutes. 20 minutes.
So then, yeah. So that was all ridiculous, and like I said, maybe a sign of like some mental illness in my part. But I just want to talk about like I think I mentioned this the other day. Like I struggle with it because I'm like, do I feel bad for wasting this guy's time? I don't know. I read some of the reviews about the company and the hard sale element of it. Maybe this guy's just trying to earn a buck. Maybe it wasn't a terrible one. But also like door-to-door salespeople, I don't know. I almost got into that one time when I was like 15, 16, and it's a garbage job. But like,
I don't feel bad for, I mean, maybe I should. I don't feel bad for wasting the person's time. Also wasn't my decision to waste his time. I feel bad that on like, of all days, this is a once a month thing for me. The one day a month.
Left.
The one.
You left me on my own and I had to make decisions.
I don't choose to leave though. This isn't like a fun thing I'm going to do.
But you did. And I couldn't bounce it off of you.
Yeah, I think just the fear from like knowing that you would have had to come inside and tell me someone was coming later, I think that would have stopped you from ultimately re-inviting someone over to our home.
Yeah.
I think that just the idea that I'd be in here and then immediately you would get like the what? Why? What are you doing?
Yeah. I had an hour to just like, because you were like not responsive at that point, so I was like, I had an hour to just sit here and pretend nothing was happening, and then here we are.
I think this is, and maybe I'm wrong, right? I think this is like a millennial thing, though. Like
not answering the door?
Yeah, hiding from people.
We used to have phones.
Right. I don't know where this comes from. Like, I really don't. But, like, I hear the doorbell ring, and I immediately go into, like, a fight or flight type circumstance where I'm like, I'm disappearing. Like, they won't know that I'm here.
Yeah.
If they try and come in here, like, I'm going to fight them off. Like, I protect my home and my territory.
Yeah.
And
Violently.
I don't want anyone to know I'm here. Like, they could be staring at me from the window, and I would just not move in hopes that they somehow didn't see me.
Like their Tyrannosaurus Rex. was just like, freeze. But there are memes about that. It's like a generational thing. You have like the boomers are always like, who's at the door?
Right. They're
excited.
Excited.
Millennials are like,
right.
Like, what do Gen Z do?
I don't know.
Do they have doors?
I don't think they do.
They don't.
They climb in and out of their windows. That's true.
They climb in and out of windows.
No solicitors for Gen Z. No one can get into they have to buzz through to the apartment complex, so nobody can get inside.
Yeah. It's interesting how generational some of that stuff is, though.
Yeah.
So I'm going to blame that on generational stuff, too.
It was really annoying. I mean, like, I love you, but, like, I was pretty upset. I was pretty frustrated with you. I mean, it was funny, too, so, like, I appreciated it.
The text string is hilarious, isn't it? I'm like, no, don't go. He's still here. I think I may have shaken him. You're like, no, you didn't. It's crazy.
Well, because he stood at our front door for 10 solid minutes, and then he had parked. We have, like, this, like, side area next to our driveway.
He was hiding around the corner, was he? From me.
He
not
was.
From you. He didn't
know
I had
didn't know about me. But, so we have this pampas grass. It's like this tall grass. And he had parked his car there. It makes no sense. Like, he should have parked in front of our house. He did it on purpose. He did it to hide.
He's hiding on the other side of that grass.
Yeah, and he knew that we might hide, because I think he knows.
He knows the game. He's been ditched before.
He's been ditched, for
He's a salesperson.
No question.
He knows what a ditch is. It's like the opposite of a ding-dong ditch.
Yeah.
I'm like, not here. All right. Anyway.
Listen, I appreciate that we were able to talk through this circumstance. I hope in the future this doesn't happen.
I've shaken every single other one. I've been hardline. I'm like, not interested. I'm usually really good at this. Mm-hmm. I chalk it up to you being gone and me just being like, kind of like, yeah, whatever.
So basically, if I never leave the house again, we'll be okay.
No, I just felt bad for the first guy. I was like, it's hot out there. He's wearing black. It's a strategy.
It's like 70 degrees right now.
I know.
It's not hot.
Well, but it's sunny. They're walking around the neighborhood, door-to-door salesing.
Sunny.
Yeah.
Also, that would be an interesting thing to deep dive into and talk about is like door-to-door or like hard selling solar people.
Well, just door-to-door stuff, but hard sell solar.
Up with that?
It is constant in this area.
Everywhere.
Yeah.
It's everywhere.
Yeah.
I wonder if there've been you know how like local news networks will do like deep dives and stuff. I wonder if anyone's done. I'm sure they have like
investigative journalism.
Yeah.
What is this show?
I don't know. I don't know what it is.